The clang of metal on tile cuts through the dead quiet of the back alley. A shadow, too tall, too angular, slips into the unseen doorway of the midnight diner. Inside, the air hums with a low, guttural murmur, a symphony of unspeakable appetites. A chill, like an ancient breath, snakes under the door. What exactly is served in a place that only truly comes alive after midnight? Welcome to Room Beneath. Tonight, we delve into a tale whispered in the city's dark corners, a story that might just change how you look at your local diner. Before we begin, please like this video, subscribe to this channel, and turn on the notification bell so you don't miss the next stories. My first night at the Midnight Diner was a blur of grease, steam, and an unsettling quiet. Chef Thorne, a man who looked like he hadn't smiled since the last ice age, had given me a whirlwind tour and a stack of rules thicker than a phone book. "Rule 1, Alex," he'd barked, his voice like gravel. "Never question the orders, no matter how unusual. Rule 2, if a customer asks for the special, you don't ask what kind, you just get it." I thought it was just a quirky late-night joint. I was wrong. The air itself felt heavy, thick with something ancient and patient. Around 2 a.m., the bell above the door chimed, a sound that felt too loud in the stillness. A figure entered, hunched and cloaked, its silhouette too broad to be entirely human. Thorne just grunted, gesturing for me to take the order. My hands trembled as I approached the booth, a cheap smartphone clutched in my pocket. The customer didn't speak. It merely pushed a crumpled piece of paper across the table. On it, scrawled in a shaky, almost claw-like hand, were 3 words: "The Whispering Plate." I glanced at Thorne, who simply stared back, his green eyes burning with an unreadable intensity, daring me to ask questions. Back in the kitchen, Thorne wordlessly pointed to a locked, unmarked freezer. Inside, amidst frost and bizarre, unidentifiable cuts of meat, was a small, ornate porcelain plate, pulsating faintly. It wasn't cold. It hummed with a strange, low thrum. "That's it," Thorne said, his voice flat. "Heat it gently. Don't let it get too hot. And whatever you do, Alex, don't listen too closely." As I carefully placed the plate on a low burner, a chorus of faint, distant whispers seemed to emanate from it, words just beyond comprehension, scratching at the edges of my sanity. The whispers intensified, weaving into a chaotic tapestry of half-formed thoughts and forgotten memories. My head throbbed. I grabbed a pair of tongs, my hands shaking, and carried the now warm, pulsating plate out to the waiting customer. As I set it down, the cloaked figure lifted a bony, elongated finger, tapping the edge of the plate twice. A silent command. My curiosity, a dangerous itch, got the better of me. Just for a second, I leaned in, trying to discern the words within the plate's strange melody. And then, a single, clear voice, ancient and chilling, spoke directly into my ear from the porcelain. "You shouldn't have listened, Alex. Now you know." The ancient voice, a chilling whisper from the porcelain, echoed in my mind, a cold certainty that shattered any lingering doubt about the diner's true nature. My blood ran cold, and a sickening jolt went through me. I stumbled back from the table, my heart hammering against my ribs, convinced the cloaked figure could see the fear etched on my face. Its head tilted almost imperceptibly, a gesture of silent acknowledgement that I had indeed crossed a line. Across the room, Chef Thorne watched, his unreadable green eyes boring into me, a silent, grim affirmation that my world had just irrevocably changed. As the cloaked customer silently vanished into the night, leaving behind an unnerving chill, Thorne moved towards me with an unnerving calm. He didn't yell, he merely loomed, his gaunt frame casting a long shadow. "Rule 3, Alex," he rasped, his voice a low growl that vibrated through the floorboards. "Curiosity kills more than just cats in this establishment. That knowledge you sought, it comes with a price, a debt, if you will. The menu here isn't just about what they eat, it's about what you become." The air around him felt heavy, suffocating, laden with unspoken threats. Thorne's words coiled in my gut like a venomous snake. A debt? What kind of debt? And what exactly had I become? I tried to focus on wiping down the grease-slicked counters, but my hands shook. Every shadow seemed to writhe. Every creak of the old diner settling sounded like footsteps. The lingering whispers from the plate still scratched at the edges of my hearing. No longer distinct words, but a cacophony of lost voices, a chorus of condemnation. I glanced at the back door, a heavy, bolted slab of wood, suddenly feeling more like a cage than an exit. The sheer impossibility of my situation began to truly sink in. The rest of the shift passed in a daze of heightened paranoia. Every shadow held a lurking horror. Every clatter of a pot echoed with a monstrous presence. Just as I thought the night couldn't get any worse, and as the first faint hint of dawn began to paint the sky a sickly gray, the bell above the diner door chimed once more. This time, a figure unlike any I had seen before entered. It was a tall, impossibly thin woman, her skin a translucent white, her eyes entirely black, like polished obsidian. She moved with an unnerving grace, gliding rather than walking. She approached the counter, her voice a dry, papery whisper. "I'm here for the first course of the debt, and I believe young Alex will be serving me personally." Her words, "I'm here for the first course of the debt, and I believe young Alex will be serving me personally," hung in the air, chilling me to the bone. My blood ran cold, fear gripping my throat. I stared at her, then frantically at Chef Thorne, whose face remained a mask of grim indifference. He offered no comfort, no explanation, only a silent nod towards the impossible woman. The black, abyssal eyes of the customer fixated on me, a predatory gleam in their depths. I was utterly alone in this nightmare, the air thick with an unspoken, terrifying promise of what was to come. "The debt is not a choice, Alex. It is simply paid," Thorne rasped, his voice devoid of emotion. He led me to a dimly lit section of the pantry I hadn't noticed before, pulling aside a heavy velvet curtain. Behind it, on a small, blood-stained altar-like table, lay a single, dark, pulsating organ. Not animal, not human, but something alien and disturbing. It seemed to breathe, a faint, rhythmic expansion and contraction. "This is the first course," he stated, his green eyes glinting in the gloom. "Prepare it carefully. No heat this time. Just present it." My stomach churned, a primal scream trapped in my chest. My hands, clammy with fear, carefully placed the pulsating organ onto a clean white ceramic plate. It felt warm, almost alive under my touch. Carrying it out to the dining area felt like walking to my own execution. The impossibly thin woman sat patiently at a booth, her black eyes following my every hesitant step. As I set the plate before her, she leaned in, a faint, dry scent like ancient parchment wafting from her. Her gaze, utterly devoid of pupils, seemed to pierce through me, not just seeing my body, but probing the very essence of my debt. There was no hunger in her eyes, only an abyssal, knowing anticipation. With a slow, deliberate movement, the woman picked up the pulsating organ with long, skeletal fingers. She didn't bite. Instead, she seemed to absorb it, the dark mass dissolving into her translucent skin as if she were made of smoke. A cold, alien sensation bloomed in my chest, a sudden, profound emptiness that wasn't hunger, but a gnawing, psychic void. Her black eyes widened imperceptibly, and a faint, knowing smile stretched her thin lips. "One course down, Alex," she whispered, her voice like rustling dry leaves, "and your debt has just begun to feed." A wave of dizziness hit me, and the world seemed to tilt. The diner's oppressive walls closing in, a monstrous hunger stirring deep within my own being. The world swirled around me, the diner's grimy walls blurring into a maelstrom of fear and confusion. That gnawing void in my chest wasn't just emptiness, it was a hungry maw, demanding to be filled with something I couldn't comprehend. My own body felt alien, a vessel for this new, monstrous appetite. Thorn stood across the kitchen, watching me with those piercing green eyes, a silent witness to my unraveling. His gaze held no pity, only a chilling, almost academic interest in the effects of the debt. I could feel a primal urge stirring, an instinct to consume, to devour that was utterly foreign and terrifying. I stumbled to the grimy staff bathroom, splashing cold water on my face, hoping to wash away the creeping dread. But the reflection staring back was subtly wrong. My eyes seemed darker, a flicker of something predatory hiding within the blue. The hunger was a persistent thrum beneath my skin, an insistent whisper promising unspeakable satisfaction. I confronted Thorn, my voice a shaky whisper. What did she do to me? What is this debt? He merely shrugged, a chilling smile playing on his lips. It's a part of you now, Alex, a taste of what they hunger for. To survive, you must learn to satisfy it, or become the meal. The night dragged on, each minute a struggle against the growing void within. My knife felt heavier, the smells of cooking food more potent, almost overwhelmingly tempting in a way they never were before. Then the bell chimed. A man, seemingly ordinary, dressed in a neat suit, walked in and took a booth. "The usual, Thorn," he said, his voice flat. Thorn nodded, then gestured to me. "Alex, our friend here requires the silent scream with a side of forgotten joy." My blood ran cold. The names alone sent a shiver down my spine, and my newly awakened hunger resonated with their dark promise, making the preparation an agonizing test of my remaining humanity. Thorn led me to a new section of the pantry, past rows of unlabeled jars and strange preserved specimens. From a dark, pulsating container, he extracted a gelatinous, shimmering mass, which he called Silent Scream. For forgotten joy, he presented a small, crystalline shard that seemed to hum with suppressed emotion. As I prepared them, the raw, primal hunger within me roared, threatening to overpower my every rational thought. My hands trembled, not just from fear, but from a terrifying, almost irresistible urge to consume these abominations myself. A drop of the gelatinous mass splattered on my finger. Before I could stop myself, driven by an alien impulse, I brought it to my lips. The taste was an explosion of pure despair and agony, yet beneath it, a dark, profound satisfaction bloomed, and for a terrifying moment, I felt myself change, my own eyes reflecting the monstrous hunger I was becoming. The agonizing taste of despair and agony, followed by that dark, profound satisfaction, ripped through me. My mind reeled, the world a dizzying blur of new sensations and horrifying clarity. I was no longer just Alex. Something primal, something monstrous had awakened within. Despite the internal chaos, the immediate task remained: serve the customer. My hands, still trembling, managed to place the plates, the shimmering gelatinous mass and the crystalline shard before the man in the neat suit. He accepted them with a quiet nod, oblivious to the war raging inside me, a war I was terrifyingly close to losing. The customer consumed his meal with a disturbing quietude, his expression shifting from detached to one of profound, almost painful relief. I watched him, not with my old eyes, but with this new, gnawing hunger that understood his satisfaction on a fundamental, terrifying level. When he left, leaving only a lingering sense of cold emptiness, Thorn approached. "You survived the taste, Alex," he rasped, his voice a low, knowing growl. "But the hunger remains. It will grow, and soon it will demand to be fed, not just tasted. That, my boy, is the true first course of your debt." Thorn's words were a chilling prophecy. The hunger wasn't just in my gut, it was in my bones, my blood, a constant, insistent thrum beneath my skin. The diner itself seemed to respond to it, the shadows deeper, the whispers louder. I found myself eyeing ingredients I'd once dismissed as bizarre with a newfound, terrifying curiosity. Then Thorn pointed to a small wooden box on a rarely used shelf. "Tonight," he commanded, "we prepare Whispers of the Lost. It requires precision, Alex, and a certain empathy. Go, find the right source." The box seemed to hum, drawing me in, and I felt a horrifying eagerness, a monstrous instinct guiding my steps. The source for the whispers of the lost was a collection of tarnished, antique lockets, each faintly vibrating with a sorrowful, almost imperceptible hum. Thorn instructed me to carefully open each one, to listen to the faint echoes of forgotten grief contained within. As I did, the hunger in my chest flared, a terrifying siren song urging me to absorb these residual emotions. My fingers trembled, not from fear, but from a desperate, consuming urge. Just as I was about to open the last locket, a shadow fell over me. I looked up, and there, gliding silently through the pantry, was the impossibly thin woman, the debt collector. Her black, obsidian eyes were fixed on me, a chilling, patient hunger mirroring my own. "The debt grows, Alex," she whispered, her voice like rustling dry leaves, "and I am always watching." The debt collector's voice, like rustling dry leaves, sent a shiver down my spine. But it was the mirroring hunger in her obsidian eyes that truly terrified me. Trapped in the dim pantry, surrounded by the sorrowful hum of the lockets, I felt exposed. My own monstrous appetite, ignited by the silent scream, screamed in response to her presence. I clutched the last locket, its faint, mournful vibration a desperate plea. But my grasp was now driven by a terrifying, insatiable urge, a dark echo of her own patience. I was no longer just a cook. I was a conduit, a participant in a macabre ballet of consumption. Just as the debt collector's presence threatened to consume me whole, Chef Thorne's gravelly voice cut through the oppressive quiet. "Enough," he rasped, emerging from the deeper shadows of the pantry, his long, slender meat cleaver glinting faintly in his hand. "The debt will be paid, but not yet, Alex. First, the whispers of the lost must be served." His unreadable green eyes flickered atween us, and a cold, unsettling realization dawned on me. He wasn't saving me. He was merely orchestrating the next horrifying step of my transformation, the final ritual of my induction into this monstrous world. He held a tarnished silver pocket watch, its ticking unnervingly loud. Thorne gestured to the open lockets, their mournful hum intensifying, almost beckoning. "The whispers of the lost, Alex," he explained, his voice devoid of warmth, "are not merely served, they are transferred. The sorrow, the grief, it must become a part of the server, a prelude to the true feast." He watched, waiting for me to absorb the raw emotions from the lockets. My stomach churned, a profound internal battle raging between the Alex I once was and the ravenous entity stirring within. My vision blurred as I felt the grief, the desperate loneliness of countless forgotten souls seep into me, feeding the monstrous void. This was no longer just about serving. It was about becoming the meal myself. With a guttural cry, I absorbed the last of the whispers of the lost. The grief became my own, twisting with the hunger into a symphony of monstrous desire. The diner's walls pulsed around me. The sounds of unseen things scuttling in the shadows now felt like a chorus of welcoming kindred spirits. Thorne nodded, a rare, chilling smile finally gracing his lips. "Welcome, Alex," he whispered, "to the true midnight diner. You are no longer just a cook. You are the menu." As the words left his lips, the bell above the front door chimed, but no one entered. Instead, a deep, resonant rumble echoed from beneath the floorboards, and the diner itself seemed to exhale a silent, ravenous breath, pulling me deeper into its dark embrace, my own reflection now a distorted, hungry shadow in the polished steel of Thorn's cleaver. For more terrifying tales and unsettling stories like this video, subscribe to the Room Beneath channel and hit the notification bell so you won't miss what's next.